Well, hello, my YouTube friends. What you're looking at here is 20 years worth of energy statements. At the top left over there is the year 2002, and at the bottom right is the year 2024. Now, some are missing. Each year, is not necessarily complete, but we're going to look at energy costs over the past 2 decades in the state of California. Now, I buy my energy from Pacific Gas and Electric Company, also known as PG&E. Other people in California buy from Southern California Edison. I think there's a third San Diego area energy company. And everything that the utility company does, everything PG&E does, is approved by the California Public Utilities Commission. In order to get a seat on the board of the California Public Utilities Commission, the PUC, you have to be very well acquainted with the governor. The governor makes those appointments, and so you are politically connected if you end up on the PUC, right? You are good friends with the governor. During the governor's political career, you may have been a lobbyist and directed money into all his campaigns, right? You may have worked your way up through the California political machine yourself and may have been a California state senator or a California state assembly member. But in any case, you are very well connected with the governor. That means you agree with the governor and you will implement all the mandates that the governor wants to see implemented, for better or for worse. So in my case, we're going to look at the price per kilowatt hour for electricity over the past 20 years. Okay, so hold on, let's go inside. All right, my friends, before we continue with this video, let me just say that this was a difficult video to make. I almost didn't make it. I was almost too prideful to show you what I'm about to show you. But when I thought about this verse, and we'll get to that in a minute, and I also remembered that when you read the comments, that the insults of a stranger are laughed at. The wisdom of a guest is considered, but the words of a friend, those are remembered. And so let's check out this verse of the day. We're going to go to the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 2. And it's in the red letter, so Jesus is speaking. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. And Jesus wasn't necessarily talking about my energy bill, okay? Right? So it's more of our words spoken and our actions taken and our things done. It will all be exposed one day. And so when that happens, no one's really going to care how much my PG&E bill was. So let's move on with the video, and let's move this. Okay, so I broke it down. I looked at the information contained on each statement, and I had to decide what information would be relevant and what information that I could show quickly so the video doesn't take like 3 hours. And so I decided to start with the statement date. This one is from August 2002, and because we're examining the electrical rates in California, the cost per kilowatt hour, August, July, August, September, those are the hottest months of the year. June's pretty warm. That's when I'm going to be using the most electricity. Now, in 20 years, different things have happened at my primary residence, and different numbers of people have lived here at different times. But regardless, we're mostly concerned with what you have right here, the tier 1 and the tier 2 cost per kilowatt hour. Now, this is in dollars. So that decimal point, if I'd have moved it over to, then it would be cents. So in August of 2002, your tier 1 rate for electricity was 12.589 cents per kilowatt hour. And the tier 1 and tier 1 is usually about a third of what you need. And then the tier 2, it goes up, it gets higher, right? The more you use, the more you pay. 14.3 cents a kilowatt hour. So I used 516 kilowatt hours and I paid $59.11 in August of 2002. So having explained that, 4 years later in August of 2006, I used 829 kilowatt hours, and the rate went down from 12.5 cents to 11.4. The tier 2 went from 14.3 to 12.9, but the tier 3 it went from 12.9 to 21.9. I'm pretty sure that's, I didn't, transpose the 2 and the 1, but regardless, I used 829 kilowatt hours at a cost of $112.45. Okay, so 4 years later, and I'm doing this about every 4 years, in August of 2010, I used 489 kilowatt hours. Oh, and this, when I had 2 houses and it's PG&E bill, and it was, so I had trouble separating, had trouble separating exactly how much money went to each house. But what we're concerned with is the rates. Okay, so August of 2006, tier 1 was 11.4 cents. 4 years later, tier 1 was 11.8. Tier 2 went from 12.9 to 13.5. And now it has been 8 years because the first one is August 2002. Okay, now 4 years later, September 8th was the statement date. And so that means it was all the electricity used in August. Okay, so September of 2014, I used 849 kilowatt hours. Got all the, and for $151, 849 kilowatt hours cost me $151. Now again, we're concerned with the rate. So in 4 years, the tier 1 went from 11.8 to 14.7. And the tier 2 went from 13.5 to 17 cents. And the tier 3 went from, it dropped, it went from 29.0 cents to 25.8. Okay, all right. Let me back this up a little bit. So now we're up to 914, and so now we're at 918. I used 883 kilowatt hours, and the rate changed at the end of August compared to the start of September. So now we're up to 21.1 cents a kilowatt hour for tier 1, almost 28 cents per kilowatt hour. But then when the month changed, they added 0.4 of a cent per kilowatt hour. Right, so this is in dollars, $0.21 to the tier 1, and they added a full half cent to the tier 2. Okay, half cent per kilowatt hour. I use only 800, so right, do the math. But also remember that Pacific Gas and Electric Company serves millions of customers. Yes, literally millions of customers. And so you add a half cent per kilowatt hour to the bill from millions of customers, that adds up to some serious money. But regardless, okay, by 9/18, 883 kilowatt hours cost me $212. And there was another, okay, so 4 years previous, 9/14, 849 kilowatt hours cost me 151. 4 years later, it cost me 212. Only slightly more on the KWs. Okay, so now we're getting up to only 2 years ago. And I had to find some of the statements were missing. So that's why this is June 6th, which is all the energy used in May. I used 433 kilowatt hours. And again, you can see here that the rate changed starting in June. Now we're up to 31.4, and at June they added 1/10 of a cent, 31.5 cents to the tier 1, which is about 1/3 of what you actually need. And they only added 14 thousandths of a cent per kilowatt hour, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So they added 14 thousandths of a cent on the tier 2, but 14 1,000ths, that's like 7 100ths, times millions of customers. Now 433 kWs, that's not very many, cost me, wait, how much did that cost me? Okay, it cost me too much. It cost me way too much. All right, now we're going to go to 23. We're going to go to last year. Okay, and we're back up to 9/5. 9 is September, so all the energy used in August, July and August, the hottest part of the year, I'm up to close to 1,000 kilowatt hours. Look at my tier 1 rate, 35.2 cents a kilowatt hour. Look at my tier 2 rate, 44 cents a kilowatt hour. And then again, starting on 9/1, and because it was only like 5 days of September, because the statement date is 9/5, so they added 5.7, or they added like half a cent. So it went up from 35.2 cents to 35.8 cents a kilowatt hour. And those 964 kilowatt hours cost me $378. All right, now here's where I had trouble, and I almost let my pride get in the way of this video. So that was last year. Now we're going to look at last month. So statement date 8/5/24. I used 1,300 kilowatt hours. I had that air conditioner running the whole month. And the air conditioner said, I'm getting tired of this. The fan quit, and then the capacitor couldn't start the fan, so it quit. So that cost me $1,000 to get those replaced. And I know it should have been less. Yeah, I got hosed. Okay, so my tier 1 allowance was 548, so I went 800 on tier 2. And here's what this video is really about, is the rates. And let's see if there's a difference from 1 year. Tier 1, 35.2 to 38.8. In 1 year, it went 3.5 cents, 3.6 cents per kilowatt hour. And then my tier 2 went from 44 cents a kilowatt hour to 48.6 cents a kilowatt hour. And the electricity alone in 1 month usage cost me $598. Yeah, I know, and I was running the air, I mean, if you saw the video, I'll put a link to it in the description of perfect riding weather. You will see how hot it was during that month. It was so hot. And when it cooled off at night, it did not cool off. I mean, the number got smaller, but it was just so hot, so hot. And then, like a minute ago, I said over the years, I've had different numbers of people living here besides myself. And like during this month, it was so hot. I even set the air temperature to like 82 and left it running so the dogs wouldn't pass out from heat stress. I mean, it was just so hot the whole month. Yeah, I won't do that again. Okay, I won't do that again. But there's 1 month's bill, but that's a lot of electricity I use. Okay, so let's see, in 22 years, my tier 1 went from 12.5 cents per kilowatt hour to 38.8 cents per kilowatt hour. So they added 26 cents per kilowatt hour. 1.2 to 3.8. Yeah, you know what I mean? So, all right, my friends. I thought you might find that interesting, a look at California electrical rates over the years. All right, my friends, you have a nice day.